Right, hello. Just doing some technical stuff. Alright, welcome back to another live stream. Basically we're picking up from where we left off last time. The camera actually died last time, so I've invested in a little plug-in device now so we can go for as long as. So yeah, basically we are gonna be painting a bunch of skulls and purity seals still. Didn't get it finished last time, so we're going to try and get it finished today so we can move forward with some shading, basically. So yeah, feel free to hang out and we'll do some hobby together. Alright, let's do some painting. Shade cam. So last stream was a bit of an amateur stream because I think we got about 2 hours into it and then the battery decided it was going to die. So now we are all set up, we can paint for as long as we need to. Right, so just starting out again with Morghast bone. Got to get a nice even layer on these skulls before we do some shading. Let's go for it. Need a little bit more water. This time I've actually managed to set up my chat on the screen, so I won't need to look at my phone as much, but I got it here just in case. If you're new here, you're going to see a lot of my concentrating face. And I mean a lot. If you are new here, essentially what we're doing is we're working on the Golden Throne. So I'm currently making a diorama that's ridiculously big, I'll be honest. And yeah, we're currently at the painting stage, so I'm painting the actual Golden Throne portion of it. And we have a lot to do. We're just over halfway with the skulls at the moment, so I'm hoping by the end of today's stream we can have them done. Well, this stage done. Show you guys how we're getting on. Again, apologies that the camera doesn't always pick up all of the detail, but as you can see, most of them are done. So we just need to finish those last few, and then we can move on. Hey Milk, how's it going? Good to have you back. Yeah, so we got cut off last time, didn't we? We got into about 2 hours and then the camera decided it was going to die. What I've done is I went out and I bought a plug-in charger so we could stream all night if I wanted to. But we'll see how we get on. I think maybe finishing these skulls first will be the best thing to do. How are you doing? Joke, how we doing? Back again. It's nice to have you guys back with me. Give me some company while I'm painting. Stream went really well last time. It was good to have, I think we peaked at like 31 people watching, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I thought I'd give it another shot anyway. Could be a better stream, could be a worse stream. We'll see. But as long as we finish these skulls today, I think we'll call it an achievement. Doing great, although I should definitely get some new paints already. Has it ever happened to you that your Nuln oil suddenly gets super glossy? Absolutely ruined some of my minis that way. Yeah, that sucks, Milk. I think if you want my experience, I've had something similar with Nuln oil and Agrax. And sometimes I find that if you shake it, if you give it a really, really good shake, like for a couple of minutes, it tends to even it out a bit. But again, I'm just going by, you know, I've had some of my paints for a couple of years, some of my like shades and stuff. So it could be just maybe shaking them a bit more. But also, you know, if that doesn't work, it could just be that they are kaput. So you might need some new ones. But aside from that, it's good to hear you're doing well. Keep pushing. Yeah, we're going to push through with it, Joke. We really are. Sometimes I feel a little bit overwhelmed when I look at this thing, but I think just if we chip away at it, we'll get to where we need to be. had some nice messages after our last stream from some of you guys that tuned in, which was quite cool. It sort of pushed me to want to do another one and sort of hang out. So yeah, it's nice to have you guys around. Are you all working on anything this evening, or did we just sort of come to tune in and watch me paint? You painting anything yourselves? Get some more water. Hey, we got 6 of you watching. I have a feeling that if we keep this up, we're probably going to have a few familiar faces that swing by, but that's great. You get to watch me awkwardly bumble my way through a stream. Joke, my paint's in the basement covered in dust. It's nice to see someone paint. Yeah, well, to be fair, Joke, my paints were like that for a really long time, because I sort of came back to the hobby during, I guess, just before 2020, and yeah, most of my old paints had not survived, so I had to go out and buy some new paints. This thing needs another couple 10,000 skulls to outdo Khorne and his puny little throne of skulls. Well, there is going to be more skulls. There's also going to be more, well, I say more, there isn't any yet, but there's going to be quite a few candles. I've been looking at 3D printed ones and some resin ones you can get online. So I'm thinking of buying quite a few packs of those and dotting them around. Probably regret that when I come to paint them all and I'm painting all the yellow and the orange little tips on the flames, but I think it'll be worth it when you look at the diorama as a whole when it's finished. Mr. Bunk, I'm watching this stream on an iPad that's probably as ancient as unstable as the Golden Throne itself. Safari crashes all the time, but this thing won't die. Wow, it sounds like it's hanging in there, just like the Emperor then. Yeah, well, thank you for tuning in, Mr. Bunk. If this is your first stream with us, yeah, we're painting the Golden Throne. And last stream we were talking about how eventually we're going to have an Emperor sat on there. And I think what I might do is when we get to the stage of building him, I'm going to do it on stream, because we can sort of decide together what he's going to look like. I have a rough idea of what I want him to look like, but I think maybe we can agree on what bits to use, what looks good, and what doesn't look good. Pray the machine. Yeah, that's probably worth it, to be fair. Pray to the Omnissiah. Keep it going a few more years, that iPad. I think we're gonna hit our goal today. I think we are gonna get these skulls done. I can feel it. It's quite cool because I feel like these streams have given me a little bit of a boost. Because sometimes with the project being as big as it is, I can get a little bit of fatigue, I think. But it's also funny because I think if I work on something else, I always feel guilty that I'm not working on the project. So that could be a bit of a thing as well. Milk, don't have any personal experiences. Yeah, but Techno Heretic has a bunch of fun models, proxies with candles, skulls, statues and stuff. Techno Heretic, I don't think I've heard of that, but I will take a look. Because at the moment I'm finding it quite hard. I've narrowed in on a few like candles that I think will look good, but what I've noticed is that everyone who makes them, sculpts them, has their own sort of style of doing it, and you know, I don't want them to be too cartoony and too goofy. I want them to look fairly realistic. What I'm using as a basis is I've got two, I forget what the name of the statue is, but it's the Sisters of Battle. I think it's it's not Saint Catherine. It's one of the saints, but basically there's a few different candle pieces that go on the bottom. And since I got two kits, I've got about 6 sets of candles. And what I want to do is find something that's quite similar to those, basically. So yeah, I will take a look. Techno Heretic. Do you plan to put some LED lights in the diorama? I do, Joke. I do. I've been talking about it for quite a while. And I think what we're going to do is where you have the two sort of black strips that go down each side of the board, what I'm going to do is drill some holes in there and then put little LEDs, I think, you know, to light it all up. And I might put one at the top, maybe behind the throne, but obviously I don't want the diorama to be too overpowered by a bunch of LEDs, so I kind of want to keep it minimal, I guess. But yeah, we will definitely take a look at that further down the line. I'm getting tongue twisted. Okay. I still got to do the purity seals on this too, but I feel like that won't take as long as doing all these sort of skulls. So I'm going to leave that till last. Would be nice to see some vents with LEDs. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to have a good think about what I'm going to do with the LEDs and what sort of you know, elements I'm going to put them around. So like you say, vents and stuff. You know, and I'm not just going to jump in and go with the first thing. I think we'll do a bit of experimenting and see what works. Something that would help me out quite a bit is if Games Workshop would continue to keep certain scenery bits on their line instead of, you know, changing it and making it sort of made to order. Because I find that a lot of the kits now that I want to incorporate just aren't made anymore. So they were only made for, it seems like a finite amount of time. But yeah, what I want to do is sort of get my hands on those pieces, but I don't want to, you know, pay the eBay price that they're on for now. One kit in particular is, I think, it's all these little accessory pieces. So there's like a cogitator, you've got bits of machinery, you've also got the little surgeon guy, the little servitor surgeon. So yeah, that was like a really cool scenery kit that I could use, but can't get hold of it for a reasonable amount of money. Milk. Yeah, I've always been happy with with the GW terrain so far, but the stuff that is on sale has always been super limited. Yeah, that's the issue at the moment, and it's a little bit disappointing because you have kind of popular kits as well, like the landing pad, the Sky Shield landing pad. That one I feel like should be a permanent, that should always be on the range, just the same as the scenery, like the is it Sector Imperialis stuff, but the newer stuff, not the old boxy looking stuff. I feel like those are things that should always be on the line because people always want scenery for their games. But yeah, they never are. I was lucky enough actually to get, when they were made to order last year, I managed to get my hands on a few boxes of them. Probably went overboard because I didn't think they'd be coming back again, so I ended up with six boxes. I talk about it in one of my videos, actually. Shows a big pile of the boxes. But I feel like it was justified because they're probably not going to make a reappearance anytime soon. Silver Scratch Build, hello there, what you painting there? Well, Silver Scratch Build, I am working on the Golden Throne. I am making a diorama at the moment, pretty big diorama, and we're currently working on this portion of it, the actual throne bit. So what I'm doing is I'm painting all the skulls and purity seals, giving them a base coat, and then from there we're going to highlight them and add our text and everything. And yeah, just get this little bit finished so we can move on and pick up something else. My attention span struggles when I have to paint something for a long time. I end up getting distracted and bored of it, so I do want to kind of get this bit done so we can move on to something else. I'm feeling painting some cogitators or something with transfers maybe. The Basilicanum kit is really awesome, but I underestimated the size of it. Yeah, it's huge. It is huge. I got two of them basically, and I didn't realize how much there was in the box. It is a beefy kit. I won't be assembling mine to be that actual kit because I've cut out all the walls. So what I'm going to do is stick the walls on the right hand side of the throne room. And so yeah, they're not going to be made into their kits, but from what I've seen picture wise, they are very big. Got through the whole of the last stream without making a mistake, which was really good. And today we haven't made one yet, but there is a possibility. There is always a possibility. I find with these little skulls where I've had to water down the paint, I've got to make sure it doesn't build up in the holes, because then when I come to shade it, it just looks a bit off. I know some people wouldn't really mind because there's so many skulls on there that you're not really going to see it, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Talked about how on the last stream it took me so much to build up to actually start painting this section of the build. In my head I was just kind of worried that I would make a mistake or I just wouldn't do it justice, and I've really had to pull my finger out and just go for it and tell myself that it's going to look good. And so far, without floating my own boat, it doesn't look too bad. So I think if we just keep at it, it's going to look, pretty good. not award-winning or anything like that. I'm definitely not a painter who can paint to the standards that you see online. But it's gonna be good enough. You know, all the paint is gonna be in the right place. Well, most of it's gonna be in the right place. Silver Scratch called, try painting 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. I'm working on the 4 Chaos Primarchs right now and the Eldar Avatar. I mean, fair play to you. That, you know, I definitely could not do that. I think it is a talent in itself to be able to sit down for hours on end and just, you know, paint miniatures. You're lucky. Well, it's probably not luck, is it? You've probably built yourself up to that. But yeah, I do kind of envy you. I wish I could sit down for just days and days and do it and get it done, but I need long breaks. Mr. Bunk, I'm pretty sure my first proper Warhammer kit was the 4th edition Battle for Macragge starter set. I still have the Crash Thunderhawk cockpit, but nothing else survives. Well, that's the coolest part of that set anyway, isn't it? The crashed Aquila Lander. I wasn't in the hobby, or I kind of just got out of the hobby because I was in my teenage years, I guess. So I was never really there for that part. But when I did come back to it, I thought the Aquila Lander was really cool, so I picked one up. Never had the whole set though, the Battle for Macragge set. But yeah, that's a winner. Another piece of scenery that should probably be permanently inducted into the store. It would be nice to see some servitors at the feet of the throne. It would, Joke, and I do have something lined up. I'm not going to mention it yet, but I do have something lined up for it, and I think a few of you are going to find it quite amusing. I'll give you a little hint. It was... well, it is, apart from... let me see, how do I put it? Basically, it came out in a kit not too long ago, probably the past 3 years, and it was memed. It was memed to death. But if you can guess what that is, let me know. Painting is your therapy. See, I can understand that. It's quite cathartic, I think, sitting and painting. But yeah, for me, it's not so much that I don't enjoy painting and I have to stop. It's more that I feel like I lose focus over a certain amount of time. But yeah, that's really good. You know, being able to sit down for hours and paint and get some enjoyment out of it. Did you say it was all the Chaos Primarchs you're painting? Because they are quite they're quite detailed miniatures. Go to town on those. Well, Joke, it's one of them. It's certainly one of them. You're close. You're warm. I have a feeling you know, deep down in your heart, you know what it is. You know which miniature I am talking about. Since we're on the subject of Dark Angels, in my first diorama, I got kind of told off for this, but I put in, let's see if the camera picks this up. Will it? No, I'm not sure it's doing it. But this is a little watcher. And I just thought he looked cool. He has no place in the throne room in terms of lore, but I thought he looked cool, so I put him in. I'm not going to do it a second time though. I think I might get in trouble. Yeah, having fun with all the different kits and converting and kit bashing is really fun. It is. It's not something I used to enjoy doing. I used to enjoy painting loads, but now sort of being able to kit bash. I mean, the throne itself is all kit bash. That's probably 20 different kits, I reckon, and that was fun to make. I had a loose idea in mind, but a lot of it was kind of intuitive building, I want to say. I mean, the watches are pretty cute, so why not give one to the Emperor to cheer him up a bit in his 10,000 year torture? Yeah, I think the Emperor would like it. I think he'd be happy having one of those fellas running around. But the comment section of Instagram probably wouldn't. Or the people who take it maybe a little bit too seriously. As a whole, pretty much like 98% of the community I've had on Instagram, fantastic. You always get one who says, actually, but most people in this hobby are awesome, which is kind of reassuring. And you guys are definitely in the awesome part of that, since you're hanging out with me. Not because you're hanging out with me, but it's awesome to have you hang out with me. That sounded wrong. Sounds good, Joke. See you in a minute. We won't be going anywhere for a while, I don't think. Not till these skulls are done. I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to give it an oil wash. A lot of the miniatures that I've painted in the past 2 years, I've given them a sort of, an oil wash and then buffed off the excess because I like the way that it looks. But I'm worried that with this, it might mess it up, so I'm not sure yet, basically. Because I want it to be grimdark. I've mentioned before, I definitely want it to be grimdark and have that element, but I don't want to lean too far into it, especially once I've painted it all and then I apply an oil wash and I go, oh no. So yeah, we'll see. Might do a few tests on some other miniatures before committing to anything. It seemed like in the last stream we ended up with a few people who were not active in the hobby, but just kind of taking an interest, which I thought was fairly interesting in itself. I guess some people just like to see the process come together and take a look behind the scenes. I think getting back into the hobby, it was a bit like that for me. I started out, dipping my toes in and seeing what other people were doing, and then, you buy your first new miniature and then another one and another one and another one, and it just kind of, spirals from there. And then before you know it, you're building the golden throne. Okay, we're in the double digits again. I was definitely surprised last stream having 31 people at the peak. It was very cool. Not something that I was expecting either. Not that it's all about the numbers anyway. You guys technically get the first glimpse at this, I suppose, because you're seeing it progress in real time. I know for a fact there's going to be some moments where there's going to be things that I do off stream to this. But for the most part, you guys are going to see the big changes. I had a bit of a panic today, so I bought the battery to, keep the stream going for longer, the plug-in battery to the mains, and I plugged it into the camera, and the camera wasn't working, and I was panicking because, stupidly enough, I hadn't tested it out when I got it the other day, so I left it about 10 minutes before the stream was going to start, and I plug it in the camera and the camera doesn't turn on. And what happened was, because I am so technologically inept, I hadn't opened the little plastic slot on the side of the camera, which enables you to close the battery in. So I had to watch a few videos very quickly before streaming and got it working, but I was embarrassed. I don't know how, at my age, I couldn't just figure that out for myself. I had to go on and watch a video and then go, that's how you do it. But basically I thought it was going to be a disaster. I thought I was going to have to say, alright guys, no more stream. I've messed it up. Beans! Will the throne be in the next vid? Yes, Beans, the throne will be in the next vid. I'm holding off of making a proper YouTube video at the moment because what I want to do is make sure that it's, painted for the most part. And what I don't want to do is, keep delivering videos where not much is happening. I want you guys to be able to see nice or decent chunks of progression at least, because I feel like sometimes, when you're making something on this scale, I just don't want to be showing, small bits of progression. So, yeah, but anyway, long story short, it will be once it's done. Yep, that's me, Beans the Terrible, fear me, fear me. That sounds heretical to me. You're not a, six-pointed star? Not one of those, are you? Anyway, it's nice to have you here, Beans. Quiet Monday evening here, prime time for some painting. I think it's hammering down outside as well, so better to stay indoors and paint a golden throne. Mr. Bunk, have you considered doing another lore video like the one you did on the Thunder Warriors? I have. I don't know whether, if I do another lore video, I don't know whether I should just drop the theatrics maybe and just do it like this in my own voice instead of being like gruff and being like the Thunder Warriors. So yeah, I might dabble with it. I do like my lore. I like my lore and my background. Probably a bit more than the miniature side of it actually, but that's okay, Beans, neither can I. I cannot count. I couldn't tell you how many skulls there are on the bottom of this throne. I could tell you I'm slightly fed up of painting them, but I couldn't tell you how many there is. I'm still in two minds about whether I should have just undercoated them all and put Skeleton Horde on it, but it's a little bit late for that now. A little bit late to be having second thoughts. Maybe have them all linked to the Emperor and the Golden Throne somehow? Yeah, I think that makes sense. I do, I've done, so I've done a Thunder Warriors one, and I've done one about it's either the Emperor or the Golden Throne. I can't believe my memory is failing me. But yeah, maybe some more around that would be quite cool. I feel like I enjoy some of the more obscure elements of Warhammer, like the lore aspect. But yeah, I might do. Something else I'm going to have to invest in, I think, is another cable so I can bring my screen closer. Because I'm still, even though I've managed to set up chat, which is great, I can't really see it even with my glasses. So I think what I'm going to do is get a cable next. After this stream, I'm going to buy a cable. After last stream, it was a battery pack. After this stream, it's going to be a cable. Miss said, I did kind of gather that, Mr. Bunk, but I think I understood most of what you were saying. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly, Mr. Bunk. They are, I don't know if you've seen basically on my social media, in between my last diorama and this newer one, I done a couple of Thunder Warriors, like I converted them out of, what did I use, Stormcast and Imperial Guard bits and some Mark III Space Marine bits as well. I find them really interesting, Thunder Warriors. And something that I've been campaigning for a while is I would love for, Warhammer to do a sort of offshoot game that's based on the Unification Wars. So, I mean, I don't know how you would do it from a game standpoint because I don't play any of the games. But I envision something like Blackstone Fortress, sort of the way they done that with your main box of miniatures, and then you had the expansions. And I just feel like it's something that could get a fair bit of interest behind it. And it is cool as well. Who doesn't like Thunder Warriors? Who doesn't want to see some official Thunder Warriors? I may have watered that down a little bit too much. I get a little bit too carried away yapping sometimes and then forget which skull I was working on. Sounds about right for me. In fact, since we're talking about lore, I don't know if any of you guys watching have noticed, but at least on my algorithm for YouTube, I get suggested a lot of essentially AI slop now. So I see a lot of stuff that's supposed to be Warhammer themed, and it has like an AI thumbnail with like Space Marines or an Imperial Guard, and when you listen to it, it's just an AI voice. And basically, you know, all the stories are AI, the art is AI, and the voice is AI, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It just seems like to me, a lazy form of content creation. So yeah, I don't know if it's everyone, you know, who listens to lore is getting those sort of suggestions, but I am. Okay, it's starting to get there, definitely. I think we might be able to start with relatively soon, which would be good, because then next stream, pardon me, we can add some red for the seals, and we can get our what do they call them now? I always forget. Contrast. We can use our contrast on the top. So it's going to be skeleton horde, and then we'll pick out all the raised areas of the skull. Skulls. Lots of skulls. Milk, haven't seen any AI lore. God, can't speak properly. I haven't seen any AI lore vids so far, but YouTube Shorts is riddled with AI made content. I mean, it's just the beginning really, isn't it? I have noticed that too. AI short videos on YouTube, there is a lot of them. Personally, I try not to engage with them and watch them, just because I don't want it to keep coming up on my algorithm. But yeah, you know, when I'm looking at proper full-length videos, I still seem to get suggested them, which is a bit of a pain. Mr. Bunk, thankfully enough, AI, you've blocked the AI slop from the algorithm to get the message. I don't see much of it. That's really good. I might have to start, I don't really know what I need to press actually on the laptop. Because on my phone it's pretty good. I don't have too much of it come up on my phone, but when I'm watching stuff on the laptop, it tends to come up from time to time. Don't show me this channel again. I'm gonna have to do that, I think. Just don't like, you know, clicking on it. But thank you, Mr. Bunk. I will bear that in mind. Again, this goes back to how technologically inept I am. Right, I gotta be careful with this guy. A few of these skulls have sort of little bits that stick out. So there's one who's kind of got his main part of the skull buckled over his jaw. And I've got to make sure I pick out the jaw nice and neatly and don't get it on the gold. Otherwise, I'll have to go and correct it later. Hey, Kyle. Made it in time to catch the stream this time. Yes, you did, Kyle. We've been streaming for a little bit, but I've still got plenty left to do, so feel free to hang around. We have, we've been talking about all sorts. We've been talking about the throne. At the moment, we're talking about AI slop that gets recommended on YouTube, especially in the lore side of things. A lot of the videos are all AI art, AI voiceover, AI stories, basically. You can find it by tapping the 3 dots next to the thumbnail. It'll bring up a menu of options. That does help, Mr. Bunk. That does help. I will remember that one because I'm fed up of seeing it. It bothers me, especially when there's good creators out there. So I know, I'm sure probably all of you know about Luton. He's fantastic. He is my go-to. And Oculus Imperia, I think. He's brilliant. He did a really good video about, what was it? The Unity Unification Wars. Really good video. That Rob Human, fashionably late. There is nothing wrong with that. Kyle Vorster has just joined us as well. So there is nothing wrong with joining a little bit late. You haven't really missed much. We're still working through the skulls that we have here, most of which are sort of looking done. So once we finish these, we can do the purity seals, and then we can move on to the next stage, which I'm looking forward to. Once you crack out the contrast, it kind of does the work for you. Sounds like I'm advertising them. I just think it can be handy. The paints can be handy. Oh, fair enough. Oculus Imperia. You know, the videos I've seen are really good. Really, really good. I think possibly it was the first YouTube sort of lore master, I guess, I started listening to. Yeah, brilliant stuff. It's between him and, for him and Luton that I tend to listen to, but both brilliant. Look at me, you can see me not struggling to use my own phone. Again, if you come to the stream for a professional aspect, you're in the wrong place. We are definitely not professional here. It took so long setting up a stream, and for someone like me who's not very good with technology, it was a struggle. Kyle, I've seen that video on the Unification Wars as well. It was the final thing that convinced me to start reading the novels. Wanted to start in 30k before moving to 40k. Currently on the 27th book of the Horus Heresy. That is some dedication, Kyle. But it's cool that, you know, those videos pushed you in the direction of reading. I've got loads of books myself. Not so much the Horus Heresy series, but I've got a lot of sort of 40k based stuff. And I'm a bit bad because I'm a really slow reader, so I still have plenty left to read. Plenty. Vulcan lives. What if you have any? You know, I'm always up for recommendations when it comes to stories. Especially when there's people out there who get through them quite quickly, because it helps me not cut through the chaff, but I know some books are a bit more popular than others, so I'm always up for suggestions of good reads. Oh, nice, Rob. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to sound really stupid, but I'm not familiar with diegetic, so I'm going to have to crack out Google. This might be really daft. It's just not. Look at me, researching words. Oh, I see. Yes. Okay. No, that makes sense. In the context of story heard by the characters. Yes. Stream froze. No. Are we back? Hopefully it picks up again, Kyle, but let me know if everyone else, or if anyone else, sorry, is having issues, let me know. I've tried to set up the stream in a place where I've got fairly decent internet. Again, that involved a bit of fiddling. The first 40k lore master I'm aware of was Remliez. Oh, for 40k. Oh, I see. 40k theories. And his Adeptus podcast is pretty much the only podcast I listen to. Well, I haven't actually listened to his podcast, Mr. Bunk. I did, I think, quite a while ago, a couple of his videos came up, and I did give them a listen. It's, it's good, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the two, Luton and Oculus are, for me, the ones that I will go to. But absolutely nothing against 40k theories, it's just, maybe it just doesn't float my boat as much as the other two, but very informed stuff from what I remember. Make sure I don't let the paint dry on my brush or I'm yapping too much. I have a tendency to lose track. Quite happy at how it's coming out though, which is nice. I don't know if you guys are familiar, probably most of you are actually if you're watching this stream, but in some of John Blanche's artwork I like how he paints the Roman numerals on top of the skulls in his paintings. So what I was thinking of for this bit of the project was picking out some special skulls and maybe having some Roman numerals on them, and maybe an Aquila or two. So Pale Russ, hello, have a nice day. Hope you're having a nice day. Joyless Burrito, I've been really enjoying Numbskull explaining Warhammer to my girlfriend series. It's a chill vibe. Again, Joyless, not one I'm familiar with. Is it like the, is it like a simplified version? Like what is it, like the book series where it's something for dummies? I might be completely wrong, but yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. Kyle, can never go wrong with an Aquila or two. You cannot. I like them a bit too much. Sometimes I've got to rein it in, because I feel like, especially with transfers and stuff, I have the tendency to want to stick loads of transfers on things. So I do have to rein it in sometimes. Joke, welcome back. Welcome back. How many skulls is in the throne, man? Asking for a friend. I think there's got to be over 100 on the bottom of this throne. I mean, when it comes to the whole build, it's probably a lot more. But yeah, I think there's over 100 on this piece alone. And we're not done with skulls yet, because we haven't finished our 2 wall sections. Well, 2 wall sections, our 3 wall sections we haven't finished yet. So they're probably going to have a lot more skulls and little gribbly bits on them. One sec, guys. Where I am looking at chat on my phone, it's just decided to stop. Here we go, Joyless Burrito. It's somewhat simplified, more or less intro to the lore. Yeah, I mean, that stuff is pretty cool. The only thing I think I can say that's similar is I watched Luton's intro into the lore. Didn't need to, but it was on the playlist and it's still enjoyable. So, but if I feel like inducting anyone into the hobby or or trying to get them on board, I will remember that. Kyle, do you plan on adding any psychers being sacrificed on the diorama, and if so, how would I go about it? Well, I will let you guys in on a little secret. So far, the idea that I have is using pilots from the Penitent engine, not the old metal one, but the new plastic kits, or fairly new plastic kits that Sisters of Battle have. So what I was thinking of doing is maybe seeing if I can get bits online, maybe eBay, or maybe someone who specializes in bits, and cutting them out and putting them on little trolleys. I think I'm going to have to 3D print some element of this to make it work, but I feel like the way, that they look, where they're kind of screaming and writhing around, I feel like that would be quite a good depiction for the throne. So yeah, that's my idea so far. Again, that's subject to change, so we'll see how that goes. Are they Psyker skulls or trophy skulls? Well, Joke, I'm not sure, actually. In my mind, I feel like they are people who have dedicated their lives to the service of the Emperor. So it could be, it could be sanctioned psychers, it could be generals, it could be anyone, really. Mr. Bunk, gotta go, catch you next time. You've been a wonderful host. Well, thank you very much for joining me. It wouldn't mean much without someone to talk to, so thank you very much for joining, and hopefully I will catch you in the next one, Mr. Bunk. Have a good evening. And thank you to everyone else who's been watching so far, because we've been on a steady double-digit numbers for the past hour or so, which is really cool. I've sort of explained before that most of the time when I've done a couple of live streams on my phone, they were bad. I think we had maybe 1 or 2 people, so it's kind of cool to have a proper setup now and broadcast to you guys live. Hey Kyle, you are the first ever person to be a member of this channel. So that is very cool. Thank you very much for joining. In fact, I'm going to take a screenshot of that and I'm going to share that later on Instagram. It's very cool. Thank you very much. What I'm hoping to do with sort of channel memberships and stuff is use some of the money generated to reinvest in things that we'll need for the build, basically. So, when I talk about things like the psycho bits, what I can do with funds that I get from Patreon and from channel memberships is get those pieces I need and push the build forward in the right direction, basically. So thank you very much for that, Kyle. It's very cool. Well, it's an honor to have you guys join me. It really is. It's nice to just sit and paint and talk, basically. Most of the time when I was working on the project before, it would be a case of just putting a video on YouTube, basically, putting something on to listen to in the background. But what I'm finding is it's actually nicer to sit and chat with people and talk about the hobby as I do it. Joke, if you're still doing the stream like this, more people would join the journey. Well, thank you, Joke. I hope so. I'm sure you guys can probably tell, starting out these streams, a little bit nervous, get a little bit nervous talking to people, but it gets a little bit easier once you get used to it. But I'm hoping that, we can get to a stage where, people interested in seeing how this project progresses can can join and sit in for the live streams, and you guys can just hobby or listen to me waffle about things, basically. And also get some, you know, for me to get some input from you guys as well, you know, things that we can put in the build. Because it is huge and there's plenty of space for things to be added. Well, yeah, I mean, literally you are doing this for the Emperor, Kyle, because the next thing that we're going to get is the pieces for the Emperor. So we're going to try and get, if we can't get the exact pieces without getting the kit, what I'm going to do is get the kits and clip the pieces I need. And I don't know, there's probably, I don't know, maybe keep the other pieces, it depends. I find that with kits that I get, I tend not to sell the bits or get rid of the bits that I don't use, because somewhere down the line I'll find a use for them, basically, and I'll be like, oh, I wish I hadn't have sold those pieces, or I wish I hadn't have given those pieces away to that guy who wanted them. So yeah, we'll keep the pieces. You know, since we're talking about more people joining the journey, I was quite surprised starting off because, you know, at time of recording, the Instagram that I run has 52,000 people, I think it is. And to me, that is mind-blowing. Like, that is a crazy amount of people. And, you know, I just started out building something that I was going to build anyway, and, you know, sharing it on Instagram. So it's really cool to have so many people join and watch it progress. It's very cool. And I've had some great insights as well, you know. I've met some fantastic people, had some great insights. So, properly sucked into this hobby now, there is no escape. Kyle, the casual vibe of your stream is very nice, not gonna lie. As a viewer, it feels like hanging with a friend that's very interested in the same hyperfixation hobby. Well, Kyle, thank you very much, but that might just be the issue for me, is the hyperfixation on it. I really enjoy sort of Warhammer and painting and building, but I have to rein it in sometimes, because I'll find myself just when I'm doing things that aren't based, you know, that have nothing to do with the hobby, I will still be thinking about how I'm gonna build something on the throne or what I'm gonna use, and it's definitely a bit of a hyperfixation for sure. Not to mention, I can just, you know, kind of like what we mentioned earlier, I can't do days and days and days of just painting, but I can, you know, I can spend a lot of time doing different elements. So, building, you know, I can build for a bit, then paint for a bit, and then sometimes I'll just sit and I'll look at the build and sort of decide what is going to go on there next, or what, you know, what could work quite well. The space racism, well, you've got plenty of that with the Imperium. It surprises me actually how many people don't really understand that it's you know, satirical, but you know, we'll steer away from that subject, I think, a little bit. Right. We're going to need to wet that brush a little bit more. Joke, I put on the stream in the background for doing some invoices. Love to see someone have some fun hobbying and chilling. Well, again, Joke, you know, thank you for turning the stream on, because it's not the same when you're just sat talking to yourself. It's good to actually have some people to talk to. I think that's what a lot of people probably forget, is that, you know, a big part of having the community and talking about something that we all enjoy is, you know, having people there watching, because it's not the same when it's just me talking to myself. It's nice to kind of bounce off of you guys and see what you guys are interested in. Because like I say, a lot of my friends, well, all of my friends, bar one, I think, aren't particularly interested in Warhammer or anything of that variety. So being able to talk to like-minded people is pretty cool. I know I mentioned this last time as well, but I gotta say a big thank you to Seb again, because I feel like this stream, having the music in the background, makes it that little bit cooler, makes it a bit more thematic. I've put a link to Seb's work in the description for the video, so if you are enjoying the sort of background atmospheric music, I recommend checking out his stuff because it's pretty cool. Kyle, there's a lot of cool stuff out there regarding the hobby out there on YouTube, but it's insanely satisfying, entertaining seeing someone making that one thing that's everyone's dream project. God, I butchered that. I'm really sorry, butchered that. But yeah, you know, I like sharing what I'm working on, basically, because it does sort of give me that drive to do a bit more and get it finished. But I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Kyle. If you're following on social media, you'll see your name at some point with your little green banner. First member. Joke, I have only one cousin who likes Warhammer and he lives in another country. Well, that sucks, Joke. But at least you guys have something to talk about when you do meet up, I guess. And we're here for you in the meantime, so you can talk to us about Warhammer. Joyless Burrito, so what are you actually doing on the throne right now? Just painting the skulls. Essentially, Joyless, that's what I'm doing. I know it's not particularly the most interesting part of the build, but it needs to be done. So what we're doing is just the base coat, and then after that I can put on the contrast paint and then just pick out the details. But you know, it's kind of just chipping away at getting things done, really. It's not all glamorous. I know that sometimes people get used to seeing just the completed chunks and not necessarily the time that goes into it, but a lot of it is kind of doing some of the more tedious elements of the hobby, especially if you want it to be at a certain stage. You know, you've got to put the hours in. I'm sure some of the the Xenos players out there would argue otherwise. Theirs is probably like a craft world or something. I never understood why GW never did like a proper diorama like yours. You like the Smurfs? I don't know. I've seen. Again, I haven't been there in years since I was a kid, but they have a lot of dioramas in Warhammer World, which I would like to go and see. I know they've got some of the classic ones in there from like the late 90s, early 2000s. So I would like to go. I think they are good at their dioramas, but yeah, it does kind of surprise me that they haven't done a Golden Throne-esque one yet. But I don't know, maybe they don't want to finalize how it's gonna look, if that makes sense, because there's that era of mystery. air of mystery. Also, Smurfs got some very cool things yesterday. They got Calgar, they got Cato Sicarius, and they got the Victrix Guard, I want to say. And they are cool. That banner is going in the throne room. That banner is definitely going in the throne room. Let's see, yeah, I followed your Insta for a while. I DM'd you at the time to tell you it's really cool and you're doing endless stuff. Well, thank you, Kyle. I don't know about Starstruck. I like to respond to anyone who's interested in the project. You know, like essentially, I'm just a guy doing something that I really enjoy. So I'm always happy to talk to anyone that's interested in the project. Like if you drop me a DM or comment, I try my best to sort of get back to them. I know there is a few videos or little Instagram reels that I put up, and they ended up getting loads of views, and I could not keep up with the comments. So I apologize if it's one of those instances where I just got a bit like too many comments, overwhelmed. But for the most part, I try and respond to anyone who drops me a message, basically. Marcin, it's hard to impress Games Workshop. The only one thing I can remember about Games Workshop acknowledgement as proper Warhammer 40k work is Astartes. I mean, yeah, Marcin, I don't know, even with that, in my opinion, obviously Astartes is fantastic, you know, it's really, really good work. But I don't know whether that is just the case of because I can't remember the guy's name who created Astartes, but it makes me wonder that whether it was just right place, right time, or whichever way you want to look at it, that he was making that, and with Warhammer Plus, they wanted, you know, however many animators or you know, guys making videos, and I wonder if they just kind of cast the net out there and pulled them in to make Warhammer Plus more enticing, basically. Still brilliant work, and I'm looking forward to seeing Astartes too. But yeah, it was acknowledgement though, wasn't it? I'm not too worried about looking for any kind of acknowledgement when it comes to building the throne. It's more for the enjoyment of doing it. Because I feel like once you are, you know, once you're kind of acknowledged, you might have to change the way you do certain things. And something that I do like about having the project as my own is being able to make those decisions of what I want to put in and what I don't want to put in. And I feel like if I ever had to negotiate on that, I'm not sure I could. It's like my baby at this point. I've carried it all this way, and I don't want to share any decision making with it. Apart from maybe with you guys when it comes to little, you know, like little Easter eggs. We can put some in there. Joyless Burrito, yeah, he would 100% have just gotten DMCA'd if it had come out today. I think you're right. I think we wouldn't see it. It would all be taken down. There was a similar, I want to say a similar sort of thing with the Siege of Vrax, maybe? Someone made a Siege of Vrax animation that was really good, and I can't find it. You know, it might still be out there, but I can't find it. Kyle, no, you were super nice. You might be a guy. We're also just fans. Yeah, I mean that's what it is. Just we're all fans of Warhammer, basically. But that's the nice thing about it, is hanging out with like-minded people. You notice how I'm just like, I'm doing a lot of playing around with my brush instead of actually painting. I feel like I struggle at multitasking sometimes. My brain is thinking of what to say and at the same time thinking of which skull I should paint next, or how much paint I need on the brush. What was my initial thought about the Secret Level and Warhammer 40k episode, Machine? I liked it. I thought it was a little bit less. Well, I think someone else has said this before actually, that Games Workshop tends to lean away from the grimdark a little bit. I'm not sure how I feel about that, whether it's true or not, or whether it's just like balancing it out. But I enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed Space Marine 2, basically. I thought that was really good. I played that through twice on the campaign. And, I thought it was a nice little follow-on from that. So yeah, it was good. I'd like to see what else they make in the future. It does seem like it's targeted at introducing people to the universe of Warhammer 40,000 and getting more people involved. So I feel like there might be that aspect of it too, especially with the upcoming series, the Henry Cavill thing. But yeah, I liked it. I like the trenches. Have some Kriegsmen somewhere. Well, they are cool. They are very, very cool. I remember sort of when I was younger, because they were only Forge World models, never getting any, and I always used to think in my head that at some stage I'd love to get some Kriegsmen. But if I go and buy them now, they are just going straight on the top of that Saturnine box, basically. The Saturnine box, which already has a layer of dust on it. It's not even that old, but it's just not touched yet. Not touched. I might have to crack out some side streams just to give myself an excuse to work on other little bits that are piling up, but we'll see about that. We'll focus on this for the time being. Try not to get too distracted. Kyle, worst best thing I found working through the HH books is, is that they have made me unable to dislike any Legion. The moment a Legion gets a POV character, I always leave the book loving them. Wow. I'm not sure what to say about that actually, because I feel like I already like the Legions, but from what I've heard, again, someone who hasn't read the books, I've heard that some books are better than others. Like some are a little bit of a slog-ish to get through. But it's very cool if they make you feel that way. Clearly the author is achieving his goal with that one. Especially if you end up like sympathizing with, Night Lords. I feel like that would be an achievement, getting me to feel something for Night Lords. No shame, man, no shame. Rip to my Space Wolf and Word Bearers. Hate Prospero Burns, and the first heretic killed Hate My Heart. Okay. Well, that's another one, isn't it? Because there's so much disdain, I want to say, for Word Bearers. So, yeah, feeling something for them has got to be an achievement. But like I say, Kyle, if you have any suggestions, any books that stand out, let me know, because it helps me cut to the chase, basically. I'm doing full shrimp mode now. Leaning right in. Machine Warlock, how many books do I have in my collection? Well, if you're asking me and not Kyle, I have quite a few books but most of my books are centered around 40k and sort of smaller stories within the universe. So I've got what's the one actually that I'm still reading is I want to say like Tales of Horror or Tales of Woe. They're kind of like horror stories within 40k, and so far I'm really enjoying it actually. The second story that I'm pretty sure I've nearly finished is really good. It's on a Necromunda-esque planet where there's like a zombie sort of situation going on, and it reads a bit like you could imagine if Dawn of the Dead was written as a book. It kind of pans out that way, but it's really good. I'm enjoying it. Nothing to do with like Space Marines or Eldar or any of the like big galaxy defining stuff. It's more just smaller stories based around regular humans. Really good. Kyle, some books are a bit of a slog, yeah, but ultimately seeing that holistic ripple effect across the galaxy with every new development is insane reading experience. I mean, I think, Kyle, I'm not sure how many people have read all the books, and if you're aiming to read all the books, I think that's going to be a hell of an achievement when you're done. You'd probably be in, a top percentage for that, I should imagine. Diastole, do I play like any Age of Sigmar? I don't. I don't even play any 40k, to be fair. No 40k, no Necromunda. I'm just solely involved in building, painting, converting, and making dioramas, basically. So yeah. I might learn how to play at some point, but not right now. Excuse me, drinking on stream. Only water. Marcin, do you remember your first one, and do you still have it? I'm honestly a fan of Warhammer Fantasy and Gotrek. I still have the first book, Troll Slayer, from 1999. That's cool. I have one of those Gotrek and Felix books somewhere. Or do I? Actually, I might have got rid of that. I managed to get a bunch of books from a house clearance, so I ended up with like 30 odd books, and I sold the ones that I didn't think I'd be interested in. I'm trying to think of what my first book was. Probably Horus Rising, I think, was my first book, which I know is funny because I said I don't really read Horus Heresy stuff. But when I got back into the hobby, basically, I was given Horus Rising, and read it, enjoyed it, but then moved on to 40k stuff, and just from there it's been solely 40k. And I did mention earlier that I am a very slow reader, so most of the books on my shelf that are 40k are not read, basically. As shameful as that is. I'm in it for the plumbing. That's right, Joke. I'm in it for the cabling, basically. I'm in it for all the green stuff cabling. I'm a 28 millimeter architect. That's what I am. Right, let's try and achieve our goal here. Joyless, the only 40k I actually enjoy is the OG Space Marine with the ritual shit eating. Oh, why do I feel like that's something that was brought up recently? I don't know if it was a YouTube video that I watched. It probably was, and I think it talked about the obscure Space Marine lore stuff. I can't remember who it is, but yeah, I feel like that's something that's come up already in the past 2 weeks, which is kind of funny that you bring it up now. Kyle, I plan on reading all 54 Horus Heresy and 10 Siege of Terror books. At some point, it stopped being intimidating and started being nice, knowing I always have another book lined up. You're invested with. I mean, that makes sense. dude. It makes sense. You know, and if you're enjoying them all so far, it must be nice to know that you've got just another one ready to go. You got to let me know when you've finished, however long that might be. Joyless Burrito, the OG manual is really interesting read. I imagine so. I think another book that would be quite interesting, well, not book, but the Rogue Trader rulebook. I feel like that would be full of interesting stuff. Joyless Burrito. They sort of implied that the Imperium was polytheistic and there was basically nothing separating humans from Space Marines. Well, that's interesting, because I feel like nowadays humans are completely different to Space Marines. You know, Space Marines are towering over everyone else and very much not human, very much transhuman. So yeah, that's interesting. Actually, I don't think I knew that. Ah, that's the one you were talking about. Sorry, Joyless. But yeah, that's full of fantastic stuff. I think in that, pretty sure it was in that, Gene Stealers, like originally Gene Stealers were never part of the Tyranid army. Like Gene Stealers were their own thing with their own background, but as time's progressed, they have slowly been incorporated into the Tyranids. Again, that's something I didn't know. Okay, what have we got? Let's see if I can count how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's about 11 left to cover with paint, and then we're looking pretty good. And then we might make a start on the purity seals, basically. Because what I'd like to do is maybe for our next stream queue up something a little bit different, basically, or work on another element of either this or something that's going to feature quite close to this on the top layer of the pyramid for the diorama. Joyless Burrito, yeah, and the Tyranids had full species of ambassadors. Yeah, they had. Why is it my brain fails me? They have the Zotes. That's it. The Zotes. I'm pretty sure they were supposed to be like an ambassador species that they would send down to different planets beforehand. Be interesting to see them back in 40k nowadays. Don't know if it happened aside from Blackstone Fortress where they brought them back. Kyle, there was a specific moment in real life reading up on the lore that made you fall in love, or I can't even read. It's right here and I struggle to read it. Let's try that again. Was there a specific moment in real life on reading up on the lore that made you fall in love with this franchise? Was it the birth? It was the birth of Slaanesh for you. Wow. It wasn't the birth of Slaanesh for me. For me, I'm not sure whether the interest in the hobby so much started with the lore. I think it was with the art. You know, the piece that has stuck with me and still sticks with me to this day is John Blanche's Black Templars artwork that he done. That just, I remember as a kid looking at it and being blown away by it, and that's what led to, you know, the interest in the lore and the miniatures and everything. So yeah, I know that's not really the answer I can imagine you were looking for, but that is the truth. It's the artwork that got me involved, basically, and sucked me into the hobby. Joyless Burrito, weirdest thing was they seemed to go out of their way to avoid mentioning demons in any way that explicitly called them demonic, just kept using terms like psychic aliens of the warp. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I wonder if it was just that a lot of things changed, or they explored more of the background, I guess, and started making things a bit more definite and putting in categories. Maybe they wanted to stay away from that stuff. I don't know. Satanic panic. Maybe. Right, let's see. Diastoli, where did you see your favourite illustration of the Golden Throne, or do you have a collection of inspirational material? That's another very good question. I would say that, again, John Blanche's depiction, because again, in 3rd edition, his depiction of the Emperor and the Golden Throne was in the rulebook. So that is probably my main personal favourite. But more recently, Neil Roberts has done a illustration for The End in the Death, and that one is very cool. You don't so much see the details on the Emperor, but you can just about see him on top of the Golden Throne, and that I thought was fantastic too. And that has kind of sent me down this path of building a huge diorama, basically, because I'm trying to use Neil Roberts' artwork as a springboard and kind of imagine what that would be, like his 30k Golden Throne, what it would be like in the 41st millennium, basically. But yeah, that's a masterpiece of work, basically. It refreshed how I view the hobby, and like how much enjoyment I get from it, and basically where I can push it to, basically. So yeah, that's those two, John Blanche and Neil Roberts. Marcin, do you have any plans regarding illuminators, small lanterns, or RGB fire or little smoke generators? Well, Marcin, earlier in the stream we talked about LEDs, so at some stage I'd like to have a few LEDs placed around the project, maybe one sort of behind the throne, and definitely some either side of well, basically we've got the two strips, the two empty strips that come down each side of the pyramid. So what I want to do is maybe drill some holes and put some LEDs up in there to have like a row, and so you can just see 2 rows and then look up and see the throne and a light behind that. But again, it's all subject to change, so we'll see nearer the time what I actually end up doing. Probably need to do a good plan before I make a start on anything. Oh, I see. Sorry, Kyle. Sometimes, again, brain processing what people are saying doesn't always sink in, so apologies. Apologies to anyone if I get that wrong, or if I read it wrong. Yeah, I mean, you're right as well, Kyle. I think the art is a big pull for a lot of people, so, not surprised if a lot of people had a similar experience to me, to be fair. Joyless Burrito, have you ever heard about Blanche's headcanon on his throne painting? I have. If you're on about John Blanche sort of talking about how he felt that the throne isn't the emperor, it's kind of like a dummy throne that people come and see, or that people think is the real emperor. I did think that is a cool idea, because it projects that image of grandeur to people, doesn't it? It gives them this idea of what the emperor is, and it's almost another form of propaganda. So yeah, I do like that. I could be really cheeky, couldn't I? And I could do this diorama, and then behind it I could do a much smaller one, like a tiny little room that's just all cables with like a shriveled up little emperor in it. But I don't think it's gonna happen. It's still cool. It's still cool headcanon, and I do I do understand it and I do appreciate it, especially when it's coming from, you know, the master who essentially sculpted 40k as we know it. Hey Kyle, thank you for the gifted memberships. That's crazy. There's two firsts today. That is very, very cool. Thank you, Kyle. I'm kind of blown away, actually, to be fair. I mean, member or not, it's really cool to sit down and talk to you guys about what we enjoy doing. And I just get to chew your ear off about painting the Golden Throne, basically. Just refresh this phone. But yeah, it's very cool to have you guys with me. I think we're going to make the streaming a more regular thing. Because like I said, it gives me a bit of a kick up the ass to get some painting done. Because I get back from work and sometimes I'll sit down and I'll be like, I don't want to do anything. I just want to sit and stew and maybe doom scroll a bit. And I feel like streaming and talking to you guys gives me a bit of a reason to do some more and get it done. Because we can't be working on this for another few years. It just can't happen. We've got to get it done and then maybe move on to something else and start some other projects. And you know, you guys want to see it done as well. Especially the guys who've been around since day dot. Since this diorama behind here. Joyless Burrito, you could literally just put a Lego skeleton in an empty prescription bottle. I could put an LED underneath it as well so it all lights up. That'd be kind of funny. Might have to mess around, might have to take some meme photos for the lols. Compulsory draft, fight for the Emperor and defend the Imperium. Well, again, Kyle, I really appreciate it. It's very cool. It's made my evening, actually. And I'm looking forward to our next sort of hangout. I think what I'll do beforehand as well is probably when I'm going to go live, I'll just put it all on Instagram and what's the other one? What's the other one I use? TikTok? I haven't really posted anything on there recently. I find that TikTok's not as good as Instagram, really. It's just a bit meh. Gonna see if I can finish the HH and Siege of Terror books before you finish the diorama. Ooh, that's a good challenge, Kyle. I think we should do that. I think from now we should see who is finished first, and we'll see what book you're on by the time we're finished, or whether you are way past that and on another set of books. But yeah, I'd be keen to see. And you can bring it back to this conversation we're having now. I'm hoping I can get it done before you've finished all those books, because yeah, you've still got a fair bit of reading to do. Well, we are certainly getting there. I know I've said that like 5 times, but we are. Make sure the paint doesn't pool. Marcin, what are plans to finish the diorama? Well, I think we're going to do it in steps, I say, whether I stick to it or not. Basically, I want to get the majority of the, you know, like the throne itself and all the architecture and everything done, and then start incorporating the custodies and characters and all the models that are going to feature on it. There is, you know, when it comes to timescale, there is no timescale. I work 9 to 5, so I work on the project when I can. You know, when I'm on my holidays and I spend more time on it, I get more done. But yeah, I can't give you a time frame. We'll just soldier on with it and see how it goes. But yeah, we'll attack it in increments as well, bit by bit. Frag, finally I catch a live stream. Welcome. Better late than never. We've been streaming for probably 2 hours now, but we're still working our way towards finishing all the skulls basically. But we are getting there. Thank you for joining us. We have covered all sorts of topics this evening. We have been talking about all the Warhammer books. We've been talking about AI generated slop. We've talked about the Golden Throne. We've talked about paints congealing. We have covered a lot of bases. 27 out of 64. Okay, so it gives me a bit of reassurance there, Kyle. I've got a bit of time. What are you looking like in terms of average for a book? A week? More than a week? Less than a week? Because if it's less than a week, I'm going to start panicking. See, Marcin, I do agree with you, but also I think at some stage I'm gonna need to put, how do I put this? I'm gonna need to call it finished, because what I do worry about with this project is wanting it to be so perfect in my mind that I keep adding stuff. So at some stage, I think I'm going to have to go, okay, enough is enough, and work on something else. But aside from that, yeah, I'm just trying to take the time to do everything correctly, or just get it to a good standard. I know that sometimes people can kind of push themselves to try and do things quicker, but here I'm just trying to make sure that it looks good and that overall that I'm happy with it, because I'm going to be looking at it the most, I think. Let's see, I'll pass the baton to @Fragai, lol. It's 10 minutes past midnight here and you've got work at 7 a.m. Well, Kyle, thank you very much for sticking around with us for so long. Hopefully I'll catch you in the next live stream. I'll put something up on Instagram so you know, but thank you for hanging around with us for so long. We'll see you soon. Patrick, thank you for the membership, Kyle. Yeah, Kyle dished out a couple of memberships, and it's he was my first member, which is very, very cool, and he's been kind enough to pick up some memberships for you guys, so welcome to the club. Probably going to be seeing a lot more of me. Well, if you enjoy the streams, if you don't have to see any more of me. It depends on the book, sometimes a month, sometimes 2 days. 2 days! Lengthwise, they're all roughly the same. Some are, like you mentioned, a bit of a slog. Well, please don't do the rest of the books in 2 days, Kyle. Please don't come to the next stream and say, yeah, I've done 3 more books. Because I'm gonna be panicking, definitely panicking. This must be the most boring wet palette. It's just all bone. There's no colour. That's all we've been painting this evening. Just trying to make sure we get an even coat on everything. I'm looking forward to using some different colours. That's going to be very enjoyable. I'm thinking in the next one we crack out the red for the purity seals. And I don't know if you guys are going to want to see it or whether I'm going to be able to do it. But when it comes to adding the lines of script on the parchment, yeah. I don't know whether I'll be able to do that on stream. I might have to just like hide away and hold my breath and arch right over like that. But either way, we're going to share some more of the progress as we make it. Cheers, Kyle. See you soon. Thank you very much. It's been good having you. We have been, Fragile, we've been talking about the Horus Heresy books. Basically, we're talking about what sort of stuff that I've been reading. And me, not so much Horus Heresy, that was more Kyle's, or that is more than Kyle's, more Kyle's thing. I have just a mix of 40k books, basically, which I need to try and work through, but I am very, very slow at reading. I think if I'm going to set any goals, it won't be project goals, it's going to be reading book goals. Because if I don't start reading, I'm going to get buried underneath them. I'm still trying not to paint with my mouth open, but for some reason I just look at it and I go, ugh. Now I'm making an effort not to again. Welcome to the club, Marcin. Welcome to the club. It's nice to have you. It's kind of crazy now seeing green names. Like that is, yeah, that's new. It's very cool. It's funny, after 2 streams, it's nice to have some regulars already, you know, people who want to hang around and watch this get built. Can I recommend some of the crime story series? They have a few light reads. You can indeed, Fragi. I like all the aspects of 40k and the 40k universe, so if you have any recommendations, please let me have them. The only thing I do worry about nowadays is the limited print numbers for stuff when it comes to the books, because I know that some of the older stuff, well, even, you know, sometimes not that old, can be quite expensive because you can only get it on eBay, you can't buy it on the Warhammer store anymore. But yeah, I will certainly take recommendations, and light reads is good too, so. It's funny because the other book that I'm still reading, the Tales of Woe, it is it's really good, but it's very small. Like it's not a difficult read really, but each page is, you know, the font is tiny. It's not a light read, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. If you are just listening to the audio only, and you have this in the background, the silences you hear are just me trying to make sure I cover every area of the skull with paint. It's like the concentration segment of the stream. everyone else doing some hobbying, or are we just chilling? Marcin, I presume you thought about what you will do with the finished diorama. Will you send it somewhere? Does GW have any museum? Well, Marcin, I have and I haven't. I don't think, it's been floated a couple of times, but I don't think it's going to end up anywhere like, I don't think it's going to end up anywhere like Warhammer World, basically. I think, you know, I'm going to end up holding on to it. But what I would like to do, I did mention this in the last stream, is, you know, maybe bring it somewhere for a couple of conventions so you guys can come and see it in person. But, you know, we'll have to sort that out nearer the time. It can all be moved. You know, the main section of the board, it's pretty hefty, but it can be moved. And the wall sections that accompany it are in 3 pieces, so they move much easier. But yeah, as far as like what's going to happen to it, I'm not sure. I think we'll do a couple of games on it. Oh, I just realised I need to plug the charger into the laptop, so bear with me. Again, the unprofessional. You'll just hear me rummaging around here for a second. There we go. Look at that. It's like it never happened. So yeah, sorry about that. Where were we? We were, what's going to happen with it? Hopefully, I will try and work with some other YouTubers to bring like a battle report of some kind. You know, maybe something thematic, maybe like Blood Games, maybe Terminatus Decree, you know, maybe Grey Knights, Custodes. I don't know, I might leave it in their hands, but I'd like to sort it out so any of you guys that have been watching that would like to see a sort of narrative game can watch one. Jabbo, building some Space Marines. That sounds cool, Jabbo. What kind of chapter did you go for? Any Ultra Smurfs? Because any of you Ultra Smurf collectors, well, it's going to be like Christmas for you soon, isn't it? With Calgar and the Victrix Guard and Sicarius. And they do look cool. I did mention earlier that I'm going to take that banner from the Victrix Guard and I'm going to put it somewhere in the throne room because it's very, very cool. Frag Eye. I can recommend Flesh and Steel by Guy Haley, and then mix some Cypher's Cane in there just for some fun. So, and then going back and forth HH might be a reread of Dan Abnett in between. Now, I haven't actually read Cypher's Cane, but I have heard a couple of audio stories, and I really enjoyed them actually, so that might be one that I end up doing. I like the way that they're written, and they're quite tongue-in-cheek, basically, so that kind of appeals to me. But Flesh and Steel, I haven't heard before, so I'll check that one out if that's a good one and a fairly light read. I'll make a screenshot so I don't forget. I'm prone to forgetting. Dark Angels, Jabbo, good choice. Good choice. Very good choice. We just mentioned earlier how this first diorama here has a little watcher in the throne room. Definitely not supposed to be there, but you know, he looks cool. And back he goes. Okay, let's do these last few skulls. And I think after that we might have to wrap it up for this evening. But again, it's been very cool to have you all with me again for a second stream. A second stream that's pretty consistently had double digits, which is very, very cool. Again, I know you guys are just listening to me ramble half of the time, but it's good to have some people to talk to. We've nearly achieved our goal anyway, so I'm just going to try and cover these 4 skulls at the front, and I think that that'll be us for this evening. But then what I will do is I think I said this last time as well, but because when I'm painting here, I'm painting under artificial light, which isn't my usual sort of thing. I usually paint when it's daylight. So what I'll do is I'll paint these skulls, and then, whenever I have time next and the sun is out, I will check that I have got every little bit that I need to and make any adjustments. Just because sometimes you miss, well, maybe not you, but me, sometimes I tend to miss things under this kind of light. So it just gives me a chance to check that everything is fully painted. You're right, Kyle. Dan Abnett is GOAT. He absolutely is GOAT. Wanted to pop back to ask if you've seen the meme of the Emperor corpse on the throne being a live streamer. I haven't. Feel free, if you have images, feel free to tag me in social media stuff. I'm always keen on a few Warhammer based memes, so don't be afraid to tag me. I'm not going to get upset. Let's see, Joyless Burrito, the master of mankind is a filthy VTuber. Ooh! Should I just get one of those VTuber filters and just have like the Emperor on the throne and maybe just my mouth speaking? You won't get to see me paint, but you'll just get to see me pretend I'm the Emperor. Graham McNeil comes fairly close to Abnett, but enjoy Abnett a little more. Yeah, that's fair enough. One of my favourite stories by, sorry, I'm just looking for your comment again there, by Graham McNeil is that little story, The Last Church. Again, that, I think I listened to that one too. I listened to like an audio for it, and I really liked it. I've probably listened to it a couple of times. I just think it's a really cool story, and it's a bit more personal and a bit more about the Emperor basically, and Uriah. I want to say that his name is Uriah. I should know since I've seen it a couple of times or listened to it. But yeah, brilliant story. Might listen to it again. Graham is criminally underrated. He is brilliant. Fragite True. Just sculpt some cat ears on Jim. Shall I just make a really interesting looking diorama and then add something really like out of pocket? Just cat's ears. There's going to be some interesting Easter eggs in the project. There's definitely going to be some Easter eggs. It's not going to be all doom and gloom. There's going to be spot the Alpha Legion and spot the Gene Stealer cult, and probably spot the Assassin just completely ripping off Warhammer World's Spot the Assassin or Find the Assassin. Let's see. I don't know if you're familiar with Warhammer Fantasy Lore, Warhammer Next in Times Where Chaos Wins, and well, Martin, I know a little bit. I think I know a little bit about the end times. Fantasy isn't my go-to. I find it somewhat interesting, but then when it came to the the Stormcast sort of stuff and the universe they launched, that didn't appeal to me as much. For example, the Emperor Resurrection and Complete Chaos or Warhammer 40k. I'm not sure, if I'm honest with you. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether that's something that they would ever do. I don't know whether that's because of the way that, again, like this is just my opinion, I don't have a clue. But thinking out loud, I would imagine that because the End Times wasn't received that well, that I feel like they wouldn't tread that ground with 40k and make some big, groundbreaking, like setting changing sort of change. You know, they wouldn't just change the direction, basically. Like, you know, I could be wrong. They could do that. They could, you know, you could have like Valdor come back. I know there's hints. There's like hints of the Yellow King, so they could have something like that. But again, I'm not sure whether it's going to change the direction of the universe. Like, I think it'll be something new lore-wise, but not, you know, not significantly affect the universe and the story, basically. Okay. Last 3 skulls. It was only 4 a second ago, so in that past 20 minutes, I've only managed to paint 1 skull. Let's get these last ones done. Let's get it done. Kyle, I don't think they'd change the status quo that much. It'll throw a wrench into the tabletop. They did that with the reboot of Age of Sigmar, but 40k is doing great. I think you've hit the nail on the head, Kyle. I think that's essentially it. I don't think they'd want to stray too far from where the universe is at the moment. You know, there'll be steps forward, but it will never be huge steps forward. If they did, I would be surprised, and, you know, I would admit that I'm wrong, but I can't see it happening, if I'm honest. Okay. Guess what colour I'm not going to want to see for a while? Morghast Bone. Kyle, makes me sad as mainly engaging with this franchise through lore books, as meaning, God, there it goes again, brain not working. Makes me sad as mainly engaging with this franchise through lore books. That's what's nice about the Horus Heresy, at least. The story builds up towards a huge climax and technically wraps up. Yeah, that, again, like, that's another very good point. You have an end to the... Well, you kind of have a more definitive end to the heresy, don't you? Horus defeats the Emperor, he ends up on the throne. I know they're going to explore the scouring now that they've done sort of the Horus Heresy stuff, so that could be interesting. But yeah, it does make you think that whatever they do narratively with 40k, whether it's going to build up to some huge climax, you know, are they going to do that and just stray away from, you know, stray away from the setting, basically. Fry Guy, I hope the next series brings some more cool stories. I'm sure it will. I'm sure there's plenty more cool stuff to come. I think the Scouring will have some very interesting stuff in it. maybe it will encourage me to read a little bit faster, so I'm not learning about lore elements way behind everyone else and being like, what? Is that all? Is that all? Joyless Burrito, yeah, it can be nice to have a build-up, but they're not just going to throw away. Exactly. You've got to remember that as well, that it's all a business. And I don't mean that in like a cold, sort of cynical way, but some decisions are not going to be made because it could affect the sort of revenue stream, I guess. But I'm sure there will still be lots of cool stuff either way, even though it might not be huge, groundbreaking, universe-changing stuff. There's going to be cool stories that we didn't know about before. So, that's something to look forward to at least. You might not get your end times, but you'll get something cool. Fragai, even though I had hopes for Goj Vandai storyline, yeah, the Age of Apostasy stuff, very cool. I kind of want them to re-explore that because I feel like that is, a very kind of like grimdark time, as corny as that sounds, in the Warhammer universe. So exploring that, telling stories within that sort of time frame would be very cool. And maybe even like a campaign surrounding that. Again, I know I don't play, but with new campaigns and new settings, or sorry, even exploring older settings, there's new models. And I'm quite happy to have any like Ministorum models and Inquisition models and stuff like that. And if it gives them an excuse to do it, I'm all in. I'm all in. Okay. I would say, guys, that's it. I'm just gonna dab this little one that looks like it. Let's see what Kyle says here. First book, Horus Rising, out in 2006, and the last book, The End and the Death, came out in January 2004. Yeah, that's a lot of years in between books. That is a lot of years. I'm actually really surprised that Horus Rising was 2006. Because when I was interested in just the sort of like miniatures and art for the hobby, and I didn't know much about the books, it kind of surprised me that I thought it was earlier than that. I thought the Horus Heresy stuff was a bit more fleshed out before 2006, but hey. Alright guys, well I think this is where we are going to draw the stream to a close. But thank you to all of you who have, been sat here with me for the past two and a bit hours. I think we're going to make this a regular thing now because it's cool. As I've said, it gives me a push to get the project done, and it's nice to hang out and chat, basically. I'd like to thank Kyle for being the first member of this channel and for gifting some memberships as well. So if you want to stay up to date, consider subscribing, and I'll post everything on social media basically of when we're going to do our next stream, and hopefully we can all hang out again basically. So yeah, thank you very much. Still plenty more to do. Alright then team, thank you again, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. And now you've got to watch me stand up and turn the stream off on the laptop because I don't have any remote way of doing it. There's that professional again. Bye-bye!